As game week 22 nears its conclusion, we are here to discuss the very best and possibly the very worst of what we've seen in this weekend's Premier League action. Sean is with me as always. How are you, mate?
Good evening, mate. Not too bad at all.
Good stuff.
Enjoying the drama.
Enjoying the drama. Well, we've got all that to discuss over the next 25 minutes or so. Josh was unable to join us this evening, so you have to slog it on your own, I'm afraid, Sean. But without further ado, we'll get into it. Well, as you can imagine, Sean, there's a few lovely comments headed your way in the chat. We'll come to them once we've got warmed up. First of all, we'll go to what feels like a lifetime ago, yesterday lunchtime, as I didn't watch the game, but my eyebrows raised when I saw the result. As pretty much flawless Newcastle in the last few weeks were battered at home to Bournemouth, who keep going under Andoni Iraola, Sean.
Yeah, I nearly had a 50 quid bet on Newcastle to win that.
Good job you didn't.
I got lucky on the game Friday night I went to.
Yeah.
I had a £5 bet on that being 0-0 and cashed out on 80th minute. So I got that.
It was dreadful, wasn't it, Sean? It was absolutely dreadful.
What, Friday night?
Yeah.
Non-league game. Not a lot happened, really, to be fair.
No.
Not a lot happened. I didn't see it coming. I thought Newcastle was hitting a bit of form. Home game. I'll be honest, when I seen it was Bournemouth, I thought, probably won't risk that bet, but I certainly didn't expect them to win like they did. I think they had 8 or 9 players missing through injuries. Well, I think it was only two or three that would have started, but for a club like Bournemouth, that's quite a big dent in the squad to have missing. I can't think of obviously all their results, but I'd imagine that must be out there with one of their best results they've had since they've been in the Premier League.
I think so, yeah.
It's got to be pretty close. A great hell of a result, wasn't it? Really, I didn't see a lot of the game because I was actually at my son's game in Bristol, so I was following it on my phone, and that'll go down as one of the best results of the season all round, I'd imagine.
Oh, absolutely. What an away day. So, I mean, 12 kick-off up there. That would have been a very early start from Bournemouth, and rewarded and paid dividends with that. And they, what sort of chance would you give them of Europe now, Sean?
Was that again? Sorry, I lost you there, mate. Say that again, sorry.
Bournemouth, how much of a chance would you give them for Europe now?
Where are they currently? About 6th or 7th, something like
that? They are currently sitting in 6th, yeah. So they're on 37 points, a point off Newcastle, who are in 4th now.
How about Brighton? Are they in the same sort of spot now?
Brighton down to 9th.
Are they? It's a tricky one. I think we've had a go at trying to predict who the top 4 might be. Probably about once a month we've looked at it, and I don't know. I think Forest were probably a little bit luckier today than what they have been in recent weeks. They're still winning. Obviously, it seems like Newcastle hit a bit of good form. Then they started like they did yesterday. I think a lot of people are more talking about probably the Bournemouth manager than Bournemouth itself. We got one of those situations going on where certain teams might be wanting a new manager or contemplating it. And I knew of this manager first when he was, I want to say, is it Sociedad in Spain or something?
Is it something like that? Or Rayo
Vallecano? Yeah, that one. Leeds were looking at him when they were. Remember when they had Jesse Marsh in the Premier League, and they were he was one of the names doing the rounds then. So I read up on him a little bit. Whenever I hear a name I don't know of, I read up on him. So he's highly rated then. Obviously, Bournemouth took the plunge as well. Eyebrows were raised when they was it Gary O'Neill they said?
Gary O'Neill,
the eyebrows were raised then, but another astute signing. Naturally, when a manager does well, plays quite nice football, gets quite consistent results here and there, other teams are going to start getting linked and looking. I think that's what will happen. But will he hang on for Europe? I don't know. I wouldn't rule him out. Is it top 7 Europe nowadays?
Top 7, isn't it? Yeah.
You can't rule them out, can you? Because everyone's slipping up here and there. I don't think Villa are that great this year either. So maybe I don't know if I think they're just below them at the moment. I would say I'd give them about a 30% chance of getting Europe at the moment, which is quite generous, I think.
Yeah, they're in the hat, and they've given themselves a chance. Leslie, thanks for joining us. Hope you are well. Right, we'll come on to Spurs a little bit later, but Fathead says, "Thank God Spurs keep being Spursy." I can't read this with a straight face in front of you, Sean. I do apologise.
Is that Fathead or half a head? He's not the brightest person that comes on there writing on your thing, is he? Let's be honest.
Not very nice.
Well,
the mighty Irons in the league and officially the worst Premier League team in London. You love to see it. It couldn't have happened to a nicer club. Oh,
that's just a bit of jealousy speaking, Jake, because West Ham have had nothing to cheer about in their whole 100-year existence. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, Spurs haven't had much more, have they? So
they're the 6th most successful team in the country.
Here he goes.
I'm only here to talk facts.
You're 15th, Sean.
Only here to talk facts.
You're 15th. Larry, thanks for joining us. Hope you are. Just imagine, let's just step back for a moment. If I'd have told you in August that on the 19th of January you'd be 15th, what would you say?
You said about being below West Ham. I think that is the barometer for us that things have got that
bad. We've been awful.
What would I say? I'd be very surprised. I was chatting with my mate about it today, and I know we're not on the Tottenham game yet, but there is a massive obvious excuse. I even seen, I think it was Dean Ashton on Sky a minute ago saying no Tottenham fan should want Ange out because of the injury troubles we've got, and it is a massive excuse, but it's not a good enough excuse in some ways, though, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We'll come on to it a little bit later. We'll go a little bit closer to home now and go to our own concerns, which are still pretty rampant as we were defeated yesterday at home to Crystal Palace. It wasn't very good. It was actually very, very poor. Add it to the list of games over the last 2-3 years that has just been pretty soulless, and I'm pretty glad we didn't go up there actually because the wasted day that would have been. And yeah, look. It was wrong from the start. The lineup was wrong from the start. Starting Cresswell and Rodriguez was bemusing, to say the least, when you had Scholes that hasn't put a foot wrong, and Soler, who was brilliant last week. It bemused me slightly, going back 5 with Cresswell in there. Aaron Cresswell starting a Premier League match in 2025 in itself is something else. But so that confused me to start with, and it's just the whole tone and tempo of our play. It's so slow and it's so predictable and pedestrian. Like, we all know what's going to happen. It's sideways, backwards. It's just on a loop. Mavropanos is absolutely useless. Like, I'm convinced me or Sean could do a better job at centre half. His first instinct every time is to go backwards, and he got sent off for yet another moment of stupidity on a yellow card. Ridiculous, to say the least. The only positive out of Mavropanos' performance is we don't have to see him next week at Aston Villa. That's the positive I'm going to take from that. Scholes came on, gave us a little bit of impetus. He put on another youngster as well who wasn't fantastic, but we haven't got too much else at the moment, to be totally honest. But getting the youth in there is better. But yeah, Potter's got to take a little bit of the flack from yesterday. He got the lineup wrong from the start. Most West Ham fans saw that before I did, and I was just a little bit confused by it, and I wasn't surprised when Palace beat us. And hopefully lessons learnt from Graham Potter's point of view, and he won't start a midfield of Souček, Alvarez and Rodriguez that has got the collective pace of a care home that is just can't happen in the Premier League. It just can't. And we got found out in that sense. And it's a sort of drip effect from defence being bad, midfield being inept, to the attack suffering as a result without key players there as well. So yeah, not a good afternoon. And hopefully that's the last of that lineup that we see from Graham Potter, and he learns, and we improve next week at Aston Villa. But yeah, it can't get much worse, so it can only get better next week. Sean, any comment before we move on?
He played. Was it a back 3 that he played? Was it 4-3-4-3? Did he play that in the other game? Or was that back 4?
Back 4.
Do you, off the top of your head, do you remember what he played at other clubs?
I don't. Well, I mean, I think he went with the back 3 at Brighton, didn't he? Oh, and Chelsea. I think he did opt for that at times, but with the players that we've got currently, I just didn't understand it at all.
Any injuries or anything at all? Many injuries?
Defensively, we're without Todibo, one centre half. Attacking wise, we're without Bowen, Antonio, Fulkrug. So maybe that's come into his reasoning a little bit.
Yeah, I just wonder what the reason behind going to the back three would have been. Whether it's his favoured thing now. He's been must have been there 2 weeks nearly now. Whether it was just a case of right, let's go back to what I know the most. It obviously didn't work. I think the big obviously this season's sort of almost written off anyway. I know there's quite a few teams being a lot worse than they should be this year, but the bottom three where they are again. Do you know what I mean? You could be safe already. Do you know what I mean? But I look at West Ham. We said before about the kind of players. I think you wrote a tweet the other day praising Paqueta's performance in the other game. But when I wrote it, I sort of read it in a different way, almost like you've just clearly got a player. These are at every club where if they don't fancy it, they don't perform.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I think your club has probably got too many of them, which is healthy.
Yeah.
Now I think that probably comes down to, I've said before, you've got some very talented players, a few, and why aren't they at other clubs? So I often wonder that. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's probably that. So it's not helpful if you've got a manager. Oh, you've got a new manager now, so it's not this one where he's up against it, or if players don't fancy it. And I think your problem is, I know you've got Bowen out, but you've got a lack of quality through the spine of the team as well. Yeah. I know you quite rate Kilman at the back, but he's sort of been moved around a little bit. Your keeper situation needs sorting out this summer. You could probably. I think has Fabianski signed a new deal recently or something?
I think he had a 1 year extension. I think.
Yeah, if one of them can stay as a backup, but you need a new number one. None of this chopping and changing, and you need one probably a bit younger. I don't know how old Areola is, but he's probably well in his 30s as well, isn't he? I think.
I don't actually know, but yeah, I mean, well, Fabianski's like been 39, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to write off full crooks, but I have my doubts he's the right type. Antonio possibly done, but he was probably possibly done before he had his car accident anyway. And then obviously you've got Alvarez down for in the midfield, and I don't know whether obviously he was half decent last year. I don't know what's gone wrong there. So that's through your spine really, and I think that any level of football, children's football, top flight football, they usually focus on the spine and then fill the gaps around it. So I think that's where, if this is it Tim Steiden you've got, if he's still about, he's going to have to get his act together a little bit, because I know you're above my lot at the moment, which is scandalous, but I don't know. I think you're about in the league where you should be. I've told you this. I think not because you haven't got some good players. You've got good players when they feel like it, if that makes sense. Like without Bowen in the team, or maybe Kilman, I know you like him. How many players in that squad can you 100% say they're going to give their all and they're going to turn up and put in a, I don't know, 7 or 8 out of 10?
That's the concern we've got. And you mentioned the spine, which I think is absolutely right. That spine has just been disintegrated in there, and I can't give a clear and decisive answer. Whereas a couple of years ago, listen, I slagged off Moyes a lot, but you knew what you were going to get from the players, and they worked for him. Now listen, Potter's only been here 2 weeks, and yesterday was alarming. It was, but it's not the complete end of the world, and hopefully we can see something better. But yeah, there isn't a collective spine of players that we know week in, week out are going to give that 7, 8 out of 10 performance. We've lost that, and that's the base and sort of groundwork of where our problems are coming from, unfortunately. But
what I'll say about when I said about players that have got talent, but it's basically it's not just West Ham, and it's not just now. Teams have always signed players that have got little chinks in their armour, right? And whether that's a bad attitude, whether that's been bad in the dressing room, we've had it for years in football. Like Di Canio, for example, do you know what I mean? He was never a fine example when he come to England. Cantona was one at United. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't one that was flying for form in France. Ginola was another one. He was doing okay in France. Come over. So it's nothing new for an English club to sign a player where you look at them and you think, why hasn't anyone else signed them? Why? I don't know. Paqueta, you bought him when he was starting for Brazil. Why aren't one of the big 10 clubs in the world football gone for him? Something like that. It's a fair comment, but it has always happened. But you can carry one or two of these like maverick types. You can carry a Ginola if he can't be bothered to track back. You can carry a Di Canio if he's going to get sent off. if you've got the bread and butter players around it, and you probably haven't
lost that. Yeah, we've lost that.
You probably have. Yeah. You can carry a Kudus if one day he's chucks his toys out, or Paqueta can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? I watch West Ham as much as most West Ham fans. You see it, but when you haven't got the bread and butter players around it, like if Alvarez can't be bothered, or do you know what I mean? You've lost your sort of your Britishness maybe about the team a little bit at the moment. I don't know whether that's fair. It's hard to carry a Maverick who turns it on every other game if you haven't got the basics around it, I think.
And that stems from the midfield that is,
And the examples I just gave you about some other, look at Di Canio or a Cantona, and if I thought about Carboni, you probably can't remember him yourself, but they're fondly remembered as almost like geniuses with a ball. But they've all played in teams with workhorses, committed players around them, so they get remembered with the help of these players around them. And at the moment, you just haven't got that. So when these really talented players are having off days, which has been more often than not this season, I think it's fair to say, the whole team look poor.
They do, and that stems from the midfield that has just got worse and worse and worse and declined over the last 18 months. We will move on. Next, we'll go to Goodison Park. We'll do 2 games from Sunday, and then we will leave you. Everton 3, Spurs 2. I was at work, so I didn't see any of this, but to my surprise, I saw it was 3-0. Saw it pulled back to 3-2, and I've a lot of Spurs stuff has popped up on my Twitter timeline, and some of it has surprised me more than other bits of it. And I've seen Ange have his weekly moan at interviewers, and bite back at him for no apparent reason. And another week at Spurs, Sean.
Yeah. When I seen that Moyes, I'm not a Moyes fan, as you know, but as soon as I seen when Moyes went back to Everton, by the way, I find that a very bizarre appointment personally, but there you go. I thought bad time to play them. But
you've been Moyes again, Sean. Honestly, you can take the West Ham out of man, but you can't, I
know. I'm just being a bit ageist, Jake. I like the idea of the old Scottish dinosaurs being pushed out the game by now. I think their time's up. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. And last night, I found out we had 3 more injuries, and that took the total to 11. It's been doing the rounds, the 11 players that they've got out in like a formation for the team. And I think the 11 we've got would probably finish top 6 in the Premier League. So the level of the players we've got out is, I don't think any team in the world could probably cope well with it, put it that way. The level of players, I don't think anyone could cope with it. I think a lot of pundits and on the TV are sort of coming out and saying that. Even Paul Merson said it the other day. So there is a level of an excuse, and it's a fair one. And I think that's given Ange a lot more time than other managers may have got. Like Solanke missing was a huge, huge blow last night. To lose him, twisting a knee in training, that was a monumental blow. He's been very important to us. That said, I haven't necessarily been Ange in or Ange out, but today we had Ben Davies come back. He's not the best defender in the world, but he's a naturalish centre half. It means we could have played a back 4 of 4 defenders.
Yeah,
he decided not to do that. Went with this bizarre hybrid back 3, and at times he still pushed up Archie Gray. And we sort of played like a 2-7-1, and it was bizarre. And I don't know why he picked that game to do it. Whether he just thought,
just say it, Sean. He'd lost the plot.
I don't know if he played. I can't remember starting the game with back 3 before. And I know in the last 3 days we've lost Solanke, Basuma, and Brennan Johnson. That's 3 that if they don't start, they play every single game. So that's the 3 big misses. It just left a huge amount of space between the midfield and the defence. So many midfielders in there. They were just all playing too close to each other. We probably should have scored 1 or 2 in the first half. And I think commentary were very surprised we didn't get a penalty, but that didn't happen. So that is on Ange. That is really. I didn't. It just looked a bit of a weird thing to do. Second half, we went straight to a back four. We looked much more better shape, more comfortable. I actually think we'd have won the game if we'd have started with a back four. I think it was that much of a drastic change. It was just a very, very strange selection. Subs that come on with, like Richarlison was fit enough to give us 20 minutes, I think. No, come on at half time, sorry. Mikey Moore's back from a 2-month illness. He come on and got 2 assists, 17-year-old. He's got enough in the bank. I don't know what the club are going to do, but he's got enough excuse. If you're missing Vicario, Udogie, Van der Ven, Romero, Bissouma, Bentancur, Solanke. I'm not going to say Timo Werner, but we've got a team of 11 that I think will finish top 6. It's that much of a strong. Odegaard we bought from Burnley looked brilliant for about 3 games. Got injured, missing months. He's got a mess to deal with, and it's not just a normal mess. Like we've got 11 out injured at the moment. Probably, I think 6 of them probably would start for us. That's a big deal. But we're still somehow fighting on 4 fronts. Do you know what I mean? We're in the 3 cups. And I'm almost dreading now. Solanke's out. We've got to go to Anfield without him. Then 3 days later, I think it's only 3 or 4 days later, the FA Cup 4th round we're away to Villa. So by the second week in February, the season could be all but done with the cups. Yeah. I do feel sorry for him. He's had a hell of a lot trying to get this squad. Players been overplayed because of injuries. It's been a complete and utter mess from a fitness and health sense at the club. But games like today, I can't help but look at him and think, you're not helping yourself here, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't listen to these pundits a lot of time in commentary because I don't think they know what they're talking about half the time. He has changed it a bit in the last. Carragher says he's got to change it. He's got to change it. He's not changing it. He has changed it. He doesn't. Those the inverted fullbacks. He hasn't been doing that. They've been sort of more like a conventional back four. We've been keeping games tight, but still losing. Believe it or not, we've only lost 1 game all season by more than 1 goal. So we're there in games, but just almost just hanging in there, if that makes sense. Yeah. And in the North London derby in the week, we didn't have it was a poor North. I'll be honest, the North London derby, the last 2 or 3 North London derbies have been wet wipe affairs. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't great the other night, was it?
It's just, I've watched the last couple and I thought, it just don't feel like a derby anymore. I don't know. I don't really know the reason behind it. Arsenal fan base has never been really one to get that irate or uptight, quite a sedate lot, but they're getting weirder and weirder. Like, obviously, the latest go around this handball yesterday, trying to pretend it's not handball and it's a conspiracy at the PGMOL. So, yeah, the derby was strange, but we just didn't have a lot of oomph. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I wanted them to give Ange time, but that first half today, Archie Gray's been brilliant. He's going to be, in my opinion, you can remember I say this, but going forward, he will captain England one day. Okay, he's been tipped by a lot of people in the game since he's about 14 at least. He will go on to play for England, and I think he'll be captain one day. Would not shock me in the slightest if he's in one of Thomas Tuchel's first England squads as well. Today was the first opportunity where get him in centre midfield. That's his natural position. He plays on the right of a back 3, and he made a mistake for 1 goal and an unlucky OG in another. It's like, yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I'm disappointed in Ange. I'm not going to lie. It was just silly. It just didn't make a lot of sense what he did.
Bit of frustration there. There we go. Next, we'll move on. I'll give you a little bit of a break. Give yourself a chance to catch your breath. Man United 1, Brighton 3. Ruben Amorim came out in his post-match press conference and said maybe this is the worst Manchester United team in history, which just about epitomises everything that's going on at Man United. They were relatively lucky to beat Southampton the other night, actually, and if they hadn't have won that game, they'd be in even more sorts of trouble than they are now. They got a bit of luck there, which they didn't get this afternoon, and Brighton capitalised on it. Brighton are a decent side, and they have been pretty much since they've came up. They're not ripping up too many trees this year. They sit 9th now, as it is in a poor Premier League, but they still pick up these results here and there, and they can pounce on teams if they're below the standard. And it sounds like Manchester United were this afternoon. I've heard it was another Onana horror show, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. And Sean, I'll give you 90 seconds to summarise a game you didn't watch, but you can talk about Man United if you like.
I was following it partly because I was annoyed all through the Tottenham game. I don't know if they've done this regularly or not. They're commentating on the game and they're telling you the goals and what's going on in the other games. Is that normal or not?
Sometimes they do that, yeah.
Oh, I think Everton were on the attack and they were telling me about a VAR check at Forest or something. I'm like, what? Well, I got a few United fans at the moment. They're like an extreme bunch and like little children all over Facebook. If they win a game, that we're back. Amram's the one. and obviously today's quiet. I thought they're very, very, very lucky against Southampton in the week.
They were, yeah.
Very lucky. And today they're poor again. I'm sure we had the chat, me and you, about Kobe Mainoo, didn't we?
We did.
When I said there's a lot of hype around him, and I think it's more hype than actual talent at the moment. If he's playing, he's getting hooked off every single week by the hour mark. I don't know if I think he's an all right player, but I think his career has been massively pushed and rushed because he's a young player getting games at United.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be in the next England squad, no doubt. But did Amram said it was the worst United team possibly in history, didn't he? Well, yeah. Well, they 16th? Are they 16th?
No, they are just above us. So they're
are they?
Or something.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I'm when I say about Spurs injuries, it ain't an excuse. It's just stating a fact. I looked at the United's bench a minute ago, just what I checked for, and that was stacked. Do you know what I mean? There ain't no excuses at United. The bench is stacked. They got enough talent there. If they had our bloody injuries, like, they'd be down there with Ipswich. Do you know what I mean? Like, you take out 6 guaranteed starters out of Man United's team. They're lucky they haven't got what we've got, because they'd be in deep, deep trouble. But they've got no excuses. They're playing probably their first choice defence. Do you know what I mean? They got strikers to choose from. There's no excuses there. It's just not working. I think I said last week, time will tell whether it's never manager who's gone for. It's the third manager we spoke about tonight that's gone for a back three over the week over the weekend. That could be a thing. Not a back three is a very specialist sort of formation, which you've got the right sort of tactics to make it work. I'm trying to think of I know Man City play a back three quite often now, but that's Man City and that's Pep. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone's Man City and Pep. Not everyone can call on the level of players that they've got.
It certainly hasn't worked this weekend, I'll say that much. And there's been that sort of different teams and different ways they play. And it's interesting. Final thought on Man United, Sean?
I just don't think they will. I think this will just be them to the end of the season. I don't think they've got a lot of money to spend this month. I think they're trying to offload a couple. I would not be shocked. That's my final thought. I would not be shocked. I see some players linked. If they flog a valuable one, like a Garnacho or someone like that, they need a little influx of money. So don't be surprised if they get like a £40 million bid for someone like that. Because they're not going to make any money on Anthony, are they? Casemiro, they might get rid of some wages, but they overpaid for Højlund. He's been not spoken about enough how poor he's been for like nearly 80 million. I just think I don't think they'll sell Mainoo because he's a Manchester boy, but don't be shocked if like a Garnacho goes out the window if they can get a good bid for him.
Yeah, no, I do agree, and more turmoil at Manchester United to come. Thank you very much indeed for watching our Premier Run Out show for another week. We are entering tumultuous times for many clubs, and doesn't really particularly matter because we know the 3 that are going to go down pretty much. And there's little races, and little things going on in the European race. But apart from that, it's all but done, really. Sean, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I will see you next week. Thank you very much, everybody, for getting involved in the chat as well. But until then, come on, your irons. We'll see you soon right here on West Ham Official. Thank you very much. And
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Sean. Thank you.